Now after that is the two words, developing aspiration for enlightenment. I enter the profound path. So when we see now these two are talking about the bodhicitta, these two lines. So bodhi means enlightenment. Chitta means heart. Or in another word we can say the heart that desires enlightenment. Right? So without understanding refuge, we will not understand, we will not have a renunciation. And without renunciation and a sense of understanding that clear and empty nature of the mind, enlightenment is what I desire, we will not really be able to practice the bodhicitta because we don't know. We ourselves do not desire enlightenment. Why will we have a heart of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings? So, Bodhi, when we call somebody, he is a bodhisattva, she is a great bodhisattvi, or I am a bodhisattva, I am bodhisattva practitioner, I am part of the bodhisattva. Sometimes we think that just because someone is very kind, he is a bodhisattva, she is a bodhisattva. Maybe she is a vegetarian, very wonderful, It's amazing. That is, that itself, some of my gurus used to say that just because you are a vegetarian is a great practice, even though you are doing nothing else. Because it is like you have given, refuge, to all the animals in the world. You are telling them, you can sleep in the peace now. I will not be eating you guys. It is like a ghost comes and tells you, don't worry, I will not haunt you anymore. That's why even if you are not able to give up all the meat, even if you say that from today onwards, I will not eat crocodile, crocodiles will be very happy. There are many crocodiles in the world. They will be like, thank you so much. And you will get a lot of merit, even though you may never eat. You may not get also, I don't know. At least in the Himalaya, we don't get, and hopefully we will not get to in the future. So even with that, there's a tremendous amount of merit by taking such a vow too. I will not eat meat of tiger or monkey, etc. Even if you're not able to give up. Because it is like giving refuge to all of this. Now, how many, millions of animals of that species. So, yet, that kind of person we do not call bodhisattva. Does not fulfill the requirement to be called a bodhisattva. In order to be called bodhisattva, we need these two qualities. The heart of enlightenment. That means someone who wants, heart refers to someone who wishes to benefit all the sentient beings. And what he or she wants to give to them is not money, not just money. Yes, money, yes, for sure. We want to give Green Tara, for example, when she was becoming, yes, anyway, we'll, for example, the Green Tara, the history of the Green Tara, there's, of course, outer Green Tara, outer Guru Padma Sambhava, inner secret Guru Padma Sambhava, outer, inner. So outer Tara is your own Guru in the human form, is a Nirmanakaya form of the Tara. When we talk of Tara from the Pure Land in such and such a pose, etc., white Tara, etc., we are talking of Sambhogakaya, and then when we talk of the secret Tara, we are talking of your own nature of the mind, which is inseparable from the Tara from beginning's time. So anyway, when we talk of the external Tara, or you can call it the Green Tara, she was a princess before, and then it is said she invited all the arahats and the enlightened monks and offered lunch and service for many months. And at the time of the dedication, the monks made a dedication that may you become enlightened and in the male form, never born as a female. But Tara said that, no, I want to be born as a female because enlightenment is in your mind. If you realize the nature of your mind, it's enlightened. If you do not realize it, you are not. Mind has no gender. Nature has no gender. So she vowed to become a female Buddha, and then when she was becoming Buddha, she saw that many people have so many sufferings. They want children, they want wealth, they're in the prison, they're being poisoned, they're harmed by negative spirit. And Tara thought that, if, for example, if someone is very, very sick right now, very hungry right now, and Tara tells her, I will not give you food, but I'll give you Dharma, come, receive teaching, They are not interested, They say, give food first. So that's why Tara made a promise that, first I will give them all the temporary happiness that they want. Take away their relative suffering. When I become a Buddha, because all my practice, my karma, in the future when I become, but ultimately may I give them the enlightenment too. So that is why it is, yes, it's okay to say Tara is a wish-fulfilling Buddha, and there are many, many historical records of Tara protecting people, benefiting. Even point of one of His Holiness' own guru, called Katok Wantu Rinpoche, said, when he was chased by, people with, shooting at him, he made a vow to recite the 21 Tara 100,000 times. And it is said that in the night, when he used to take off his clothes to sleep or in kind of dust them, bullets used to fall off, but they were not harmed, him and his entourage. And similarly, like there are many from the ancient Indian time to now, there are many stories of the Green Tara protecting. But, but Green Tara is not just limited to that. Green Tara also wishes to give enlightenment, or creates a condition for us to give effort to give us enlightenment. So that is why to be considered a bodhicitta, we have to wish to give all the sentient beings all the temporary they need, but the wish to give enlightenment, because enlightenment is the biggest happiness. As I mentioned yesterday, that if someone is afraid of snake, and you come and protect that person from the snake and give him talk and encouragement, yes, it is very good. But the best is to make them realize that there was no snake at all. It was just a dark rope. What we consider happiness or suffering, it never inherently existed. That you yourself are naturally, from beginningless time, Tara, you are a Buddha. Your nature of the mind is undefined of nature. That is the best gift. Because that is a solution. Once you're able to give that, they will not have to come back to you and ask for help all the time. Because they themselves can help themselves and help others too. That is why the best gift one can give to any sentient being is a gift of Dharma, which leads them to enlightenment, awakenness. Otherwise, we will be searching for, source of happiness and suffering in many places. Yesterday we were talking to the mind traps and all of that, and some of you were there. Until we understand this, until we understand the trap of the mind, we will always be deluding ourselves. One thing I forgot to mention yesterday, is that yesterday the place where we gave talk was a prison. So even prison is actually a mind trap. The prisoners who are there for 10 years feel that they are in a miserable condition, yes, and they are suffering. That I am in a prison, I cannot get out. But strangely enough, the prison guards who are also there, who can go out in the night, but during the day, they too cannot go out. Yet they feel very free. I am not in prison. But they are. And if a prisoner's sentence is for 10 years, and the prison guard is working there for 30 years, that means the prison guard has served a longer term than the prisoner. And many of us, when we become a bit of wealthy, we also like to erect walls, physical walls, psychological walls, hire a security guard, and keep ourselves inside. And we don't feel it's a prison, we feel it's a protection. So until we realize one's own nature of the mind until we will have the delusion, our delusion will continue to create so many traps. That trap that you have in Hong Kong, you will have it in Canada, you will have it in the United States, you will have it in India, you will have it in Himalaya. Himalaya can give you the conditioned holy place, teaching, environment can help you to break out of that trap, yes. But if you yourself do not break out, just by going to Himalaya, we will not be liberated or enlightened just because of the place. So A bodhisattva, heart of the bodhisattva is one who wishes to give, the enlightenment and to all the sentient beings. So once we have that deep aspiration in your heart, even though we are unenlightened right now, we are full of desire, ignorance, etc. At that moment, when you genuinely have that aspiration in our heart, we become the heart son of Buddhas and Bodhisattva. And from that moment when we have that genuine aspiration in our heart, the merit that we accumulate is said to be so huge and unimaginable that if the entire universe was made physical, it was a physical thing, it will not fit into it. The merit that we get from offering, flowers or millions of dollars or etc. is nothing compared to the merit that we accumulate from the heart of aspiration. It's said to be huge. It is huge because you are basically promising to be a public servant of the universe. And you are become the heart, son and daughter of Buddhas and Bodhisattva, because only reason why Buddha got enlightened is to benefit, to liberate the sentient beings. And you have promised to follow their footstep. To a father and a mother, what more can be a proud moment than to know that your children is now on your footstep. And from that onwards, even if you offer a small flower, it will be for the benefit of all the mother sentient being. And the flower that you offer has a merit billion times more than any other people offering the entire universe filled with a flower, because you are a bodhisattva, bodhisattvi. And when you genuinely develop that heart, no spirit will harm you, no snakes will harm you, no ghost will harm you, elements will not harm you when you have genuinely able to develop that. Why will the spirits harm you? You are working for them. Why will you want to harm your public servant? So there are many stories and legends about that, but I think we don't have time. So anyway, now once we have developed that, how can we develop that? You can develop it because of your previous life. You have practiced bodhicitta. In terms of developing it, yes, for example, every morning when we say, I am going to do Tara practice for the benefit of all the mother sentient beings, it's a step. We are opening our heart. Every time we do that, as I mentioned in the beginning, right now our hearts are not very opened. Even that we are open to others is with lots of terms and conditions. Right? That's why we are easily upset. A lot of expectations in terms and conditions. So when we are able to open our heart, every day through practice, definitely we will be, that it will. That's one thing. And when we accumulate lots of merit too, it is said the bodhicitta will arise. I think there's a few conditions. It said that few causes. Choktop, gyotop, sawe, theotop, gewa, gombe, midin padang, tenjongwa, shengi tembe, semkeche. Because of the positive friend, that means teachers and Dharma brother, sister. Because of because all of us have the Buddha nature. Because of the accumulation of the merit. Because of listening to Dhamma, and because of your practice of the motivation every day, such kind of the bodhicitta can be developed. Now, once we have that kind of aspiration, to benefit all the mother sentient being, now how do we develop that? And for example, there is the Mahayana way and Vajrayana way. Mahayana way is firstly to generate a great sense of love towards one's own parent and understand the sacrifice they've made. It is said that we understand the sacrifice of our parent only when we become parent. Then only we understand. There is a saying that before one of the Buddha's disciple, he wasn't a disciple actually, Buddha's disciple was King Bimbisara. and he had a son called Ajatashatru, which means the enemy of the mother, something like that, or enemy of the parent. So it was predicted that he will grow up and kill his parent, and then his mother wanted to kill him, but the father said, doesn't matter, if it's meant to be, it's our karma. So after then, then later, Buddha Shakyamuni is that cousin, that Devdatta, Devdatta instigated the son and said that, look at your father, he's always respecting Buddha, but he's not really doesn't want to, he doesn't care about you, he only cares about Buddha, he doesn't want to give up his kingdom. So anyway, it instigated, and later the son killed his parent. And after he killed his parent, few minutes after he gave the order, he got a letter saying that, your queen has given birth, and he was so happy. And he wanted to congratulate everyone, give holiday. And then he realized that the joy that he felt when he had a child must be the same that his own parents had felt. And then he regretted a lot, but then he could not take back his order. It was already given, he carried out. And then, he went through laws of regret, and then Buddha Shakyamuni have to give him a specific teaching for him, in order to make him understand that, yes, you must purify all the negative karma you have done. It can be purified. But the father also had accumulated certain karma. Why all of this happened? There was many reasons. But of course, you cannot say that just because somebody has karma, that's why I killed him. Because the more you do this, it perpetuates. Then you kill, then it comes back, that's why we have endless samsara. So that is not excuse. Yeah. So anyway. Then anyway, so only when we become parent, it is said that we understand. So generating a great sense of love, I think for one of the blessings, or maybe being in the kind of the Asian tradition, is that generally we have a good relation with our parents, so it is easier to develop that sense of love. And then even if we are not able to, I think one of the reasons we are, especially in, I think, our, the modern, generation is becoming a bit difficult to have a, kind of have appreciation towards anybody, actually. Because, I think we are all given a lot of standards of how our parents are supposed to be, how husbands are supposed to be, how wives are supposed to be. Nobody knows who made these standards, but somehow these standards have come. And that standard seems to be impossible to fulfill. Rather than realizing that, yes, our parents or people in our life may not be perfect. That is because as much as we are influenced by our desire, our anger, our emotions, they are too. Yet everybody is trying their best. Right? For example, when we get angry, when we feel desire, we are not like, now it's 10 o'clock, 10:30, 10:45, I'm going to get angry. No, when the anger comes, no choice, no control. When the desire comes, we cannot control it, unless you are a great practitioner. So anyway, that's one way of developing the bodhicitta. Another way of developing the compassion and love is, by realizing, this is the Drukpa lineage way, actually, speciality of the Drukpa lineage in Vajrayana, but especially of Drukpa teachings, is that we realize the non-existent, in nothing existing inherently, nothing existing externally. By realizing that, or you can even say that by realizing the subtle impermanent that's happening all the time. Everything is changing all the time. Physical body, mental, everything is changing constantly. Nothing existing as it appears to be. Because it's constantly changing. So how can it exist as it appears to be? So yet, this is something that we are not really aware of, as I mentioned a few days ago. The moment you meet somebody, your meeting has already ended. The moment you become prime minister, your term is already started ending. So with that kind of understanding, or with understanding nothing existing inherently, yet all of us are deluded into, physical form inherently existing, sound existing, emotional inherently existing. And because of that, all of us, including all the mother sentient beings, are going through a tremendous amount of suffering And by developing this kind of understanding, we can generate a sense of compassion for oneself and all the sentient beings equally deluded, even though they may be very so-called very powerful, very successful, very, the happy life, but they do not realize, this illusory nature. They do not realize that, the clock ticking every second, which is, the subtle changing nature. So whichever way is easier for us to develop, we can use it. And anyway, but basically we have to generate a sense of, the heart of enlightenment. Now, after developing this heart of enlightenment, what are the things that will destroy it? Let's say that due to your teacher's blessing and your learning, etc., you have able to develop the bodhicitta, but does not mean that it will always, if you are not able to protect it, it will not stay there all the time. It will disappear. We may have felt that sometimes we feel we are a very kind person. Then after some time, something, it changes. We lose our compassion.